The Vermont Agency of Natural Resources Atlas YouTube series presents Using the Tools for Your Business, some tips and tricks. Many users are able to create a map by simply zooming to a location, turning layers on and off, and printing the map. But in this episode, we're going to learn about how to use a lot of the various tools within the Natural Resources Atlas to accomplish a business process. So in this case, we're going to be a hypothetical water system operator where we're going to submit a proposed public drinking water well and its source protection area to the Drinking Water and Groundwater Protection Division and program. So in this tutorial, I hope that the demonstration of the tools that we're using to accomplish this task will help you use and utilize Natural Resources Atlas to its full potential. So when we first get to the map, this is exactly what we're going to see. We see a map of the state. You have the map window in our table of contents over here to the left. The first thing we usually do is zoom to a particular location, and there are many different ways we can do that. One of the most common is to zoom to a particular town. Using the quick tools zoom to town, we can start typing in a town in here, in this case Williston, click OK, and it's going to zoom us right to Williston. What we can also do is hold the shift key down and drag a box. I kind of like doing that if I kind of know the area but not necessarily know exactly where I need to be. Then finally, in the search box, we can even just type an address. So if you know the address, so I'm going to type in 185 Central School Drive in Williston and hit enter. This is going to go and check out a few different address services, the E911 state service as well as Microsoft's Bing. If I click on E911 address, it'll find us results based off of the address. Click on it again and zoom us right to that location. And to close out of this window, simply choose the close panel option. And go back, close panel. Now what we can do is I'm going to go to the layers. I'm going to talk a little bit about this layers panel because there's a lot to see in here. By default, we always go to the Atlas layers, and these are what are called layer themes. And a theme can either include or exclude and default turn on or off different layers. In this case, we're a water system operator, so we're going to use the water wells theme in this case. And what that's going to do is it's going to remove out any extraneous layers that probably don't apply to what we're looking to do. But it will also include the drinking water and groundwater protection group and default turn on things like private wells, the public water sources, surface and groundwater source protection areas. So if I zoom out, it's going to turn those on for us. You'll see the source protection areas turned on. Within the individual layers within this group, we can set different properties. So in the case of private wells, if I click on the arrow over here, I can see certain actions or available tools for the private wells layer. And I can do things like I can toggle the labels. If I don't care to see the labels, I can turn them off. And there they go. And I can even symbolize them however I want by choosing a visualization and choosing a custom layer style. So if we're not necessarily interested in the symbology and how I personally set it up, hey, have at it. Symbolize them however you want. You can even symbolize them off of different attributes within the attribute table. So if, say, for private wells, you want to symbolize off of, say, the well yield or maybe the depth of this particular well, we can choose that. But in this case, we're just going to choose a simple symbology. We'll just change a different color, make them the inside blue with maybe a darker blue outline. We can do that by changing this layer's symbol properties, just like so. If I wanted the inside to have a transparent center, I could do that as well, but this is the transparency slider for the symbology, which is kind of neat. I can choose the marker size, so I'm going to make this 10 pixels. align with 1 pixel, and we can keep it a circle and click done. So now all of those private wells are going to re-symbolize with a semi-transparent blue circle, which is pretty neat. So I'm going to close out of this. What are some other options? We can do the same thing with the source protection areas being polygon layers. You can zoom to them. You can even see the metadata for them by choosing the groundwater source protection area metadata. So what I need to do is I need to enter in a proposed public water source and digitize the source protection area. So in order to do that, I have the coordinate location of the proposed source. So in order to add that to the map, I'm going to go to my toolbar, and in the measurement tab, plot the coordinates. Seeing as though I know the latitude as 44.44105 north and the longitude is 73.07182 west, I can add that coordinate location to the map, and it's symbolized as a call out. So I can close out of this, and I'm going to use my zoom. I'm going to zoom to this location. Notice it didn't add a point, it just gave me a call out. Now I want to actually show the point of that well. So I'm going to use my draw tools and place a point right at the location of that measurement. And I no longer need the call out anymore, so I can use the erase tool and click on that call out, and it says, oh, there's a couple items here that you're going to need to erase. I'm okay with it. And now I have my proposed well source. Looks like in the middle of a soccer field. So anyway, my next step is to delineate the source protection area. And there are different ways that source protection areas get delineated. I'm not a hydrogeologist, nor am I a consultant for a hydrogeology company. So this might not exactly be how it's done. But as an example, we do have contours that are available, and you can add those to the map. You can even use the base map option, and we can choose a topo map, and we can use the topo map for delineating these with the contours turned on. So it's all in how you want to do it. So I'm going to go back to the imagery here. I might actually go back to the base map data, and I'm going to turn a few things off here. It's getting kind of busy, so I don't need to see the parcels. Let's turn those off. And I'm going to go back to the draw tools, and I'm going to quickly delineate the source, the second zone of the source protection area. So it's going to look something like this. The first zone of the source protection area is actually going to be a radius off of the proposed source. And in order to do that, I'm going to go to the measurement tab, use the radius tool, and using the radius tool, it asks to place a point on the map. And so I'm just going to overlay it over my existing point, choose done, and give it a radius. So I need a 500-foot buffer, so I'm going to cut the diameter in half to give me a radius of 250 feet, and choose done. And there's my zone 1. So I have zone 1, zone 2, maybe zone 3 is a portion of what I've already delineated. So what I can even do is I can edit this, click the edit tool, there you go. And I could, let's see, you know what, we're going to leave it, and we're going to actually create a polygon, but we're going to do some snapping. What snapping is it allows you to snap your drawing features to an existing layer or feature that's on the map. So in this case, if I enable snapping, I can select snappable layers. In this case, I'm gonna clear them all. But what I will be able to snap to is my existing drawing. So this is kind of handy if I wanted to add something within my drawing or maybe adjacent to it. Use snapping, and I'm going to use the polygon here, and you'll see that I can then go ahead and delineate my third zone within here just by doing snapping. And obviously this isn't perfect. I don't want to make this a 3-hour long webinar, but just enough for you guys to all get the point. When I'm done with my polygon, I double click to finish it. Oop, there, we'll ignore that little blip there. And so here's our source protection area that we just delineated. That's pretty neat. But what do we do with it now? What can we do with it? I don't know if anyone has noticed, but there's an export drawings tool. If I click that, what this is going to do is it's going to take my drawing and export it out as a shapefile. So it tells me the shapefile is about to be downloaded. I'll click OK. And here's my export1.zip. So I'm going to show this in the folder. Here's my export. So I'm going to copy this to a temporary location. C temp. Let's put it in here. And we're going to extract everything to our export folder. We'll just call it export. And then you'll see we have both a point and a polygon. So the point is the drawing of our proposed source, and the polygon is of the source protection area. Pretty neat. So let's minimize those. And what we'll do is we'll reload this application. Let's start fresh, like we're coming in from a different angle here. We're coming back on a different day, or perhaps we're the drinking water and groundwater protection program, checking out the proposed source protection area. We want to check it out. So we're going to open up a fresh natural resources atlas. But what I didn't tell you is that one tip, and I don't think anybody knows of this one, is that the URL for the natural resources atlas will take parameters. And what that means is if you want, or you find yourself going back to a particular theme on a regular basis, you can just add this question mark, layer theme equals, to the end of the URL of the slash, and just type in water wells. And what that's going to do is each time you load the map, it's going to default to that water wells theme. And that works with any theme in the map. In that drop down, you remember the layer themes that we had. Just type it out here after the question mark layer theme equals. And that will default those particular layers on, and will bring you back to that project location. So it's kind of neat. Another thing that we could also have done is add a bookmark. And I don't know if anyone bookmarks in their projects, but this button here is a bookmark. And I had already set in a previous project this new source protection area bookmark. So now if I click on this, it's going to bring us right back to where I was working previously. No need to find it using the address, etc. It's just a quick bookmark. So if you're routinely working in a particular area, set a bookmark at the current extent and give it a name. Pretty easy. So here we are. We've given it a new theme name. So if I look in the layers, I should see, yep, water wells is already selected. Pretty neat. Bookmarked. So now what we can do is we can add the shapefile of our source protection area, and we can do that by using the tools, going to map data, upload data. Now you can see we can upload different file formats, including some Excel spreadsheets, KML shapefiles. If we had GPSed the proposed water source using a Garmin and exported it out as a GPX file, we could have even imported that. Kind of neat. So I'm going to go ahead and add the polygon. Yeah, just the polygon. We don't need the point. So when you're uploading files, always include the main three, which is the SHP, PRJ, and DBF. And that's reminded in this dialog here is make sure you include those three different file types. Choose upload. You can give it a name. We'll call this proposed SPA, source protection area. Proceed. It's going to ask us how do we want to color it. Let's give it a pink. We want it to do pink and purple. Looks good. This pink, I want to be semi-transparent. I want to be able to see through it. Make our line width, let's make it only 1. Solid, solid, good. So now this is going to add our shapefile to the map. Proceed. It's going to take just a second. And there we are. There's our shapefile. That's exactly how we had drawn it. So now we could be looking at this as at ourselves, or we could be looking at it internally. It's just a neat way to be able to share data that came from a drawing on the map, essentially. So part of the drinking water application process is identifying potential sources of contamination. And to do that, let's change back to the Atlas Layers theme. So I'm going to change that theme, and I'm going to go to the waste management group, and I'm going to turn on some potential sources of contamination. So here we have hazardous waste sites, generators, brownfields, above ground storage tanks, and underground storage tanks. Now what I want to do is I want to identify any of these within this source protection area. And how might I do that? Well, a trick is using the identify tool. And what we can do is use the identify tool to create a buffer. So what I'm going to do is use the line identify and identify all of the features within our drawing. So my identifiable layers, I'm going to clear all of them, but I'm going to scroll down to find my proposed source protection area. So it's only going to identify my proposed source protection area, and then within the waste management group, the hazardous sites, waste generators, brownfields, salvage yards, storage tanks, etc. And I'm going to exit out of the identifiable layers dialog or panel. So now I can go through, create my line, and this should find the 3 features within the proposed source protection area, in which it does. You can see those here. They're highlighted. But what I can do now is, using this burger icon, I can show the buffer options. Now we're not necessarily interested in doing a buffer because we don't want to find features outside of our source protection area boundary. So I'm just going to enter 0 in here for my buffer options and then choose continue. And what this is going to do is it's going to identify the features within that quote-unquote buffer boundary that we had set at 0 to find potential sources of contamination. So in this case, within our source protection area, so far, it's found 1 hazardous waste site and 1 underground storage tank. So we can then go ahead and we can choose these, and we can see what exactly they are by choosing, viewing the site details. Or I can go back, I can choose the underground storage tank, I can get the tank report and include that. Or I can even switch to, I use this hamburger icon, switch to the table view and see what they are. So we're not interested in the proposed source protection area information, but I can now see the hazardous site and the underground storage tank and all of the features that would have been identified within the source protection area. And I can even click the hamburger icon of the identify results, and I can export them to either an Excel spreadsheet or its own shapefile. I can even save these results to come back to them later if this is part of a specific project. So if I want to, let's export this as an XLS, which is an Excel spreadsheet. It's going to download. Open that. Give it a second while it loads. Come back to the map. And now what we have effectively done is sent the drinking water and groundwater protection program a shapefile with our proposed source protection area, the coordinates of our proposed drinking water well, and we could even include a spreadsheet that has the potential sources of contamination in it, in either as a shapefile or an Excel spreadsheet. So I hope this hypothetical business process has helped you understand a few of the tools that the Natural Resources Atlas is capable of. Please tune in later and subscribe to our YouTube channel for other episodes of the Natural Resources Atlas training videos to help you get the most out of the Natural Resources Atlas. Thank you.